Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. I prayed for times like this. I prayed for times like this. Liverpool Football Club, hold that. It was about time we got a lick back. What a game. What a result. Manchester United 3, Liverpool 2. Now, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to discuss. And I'm not going to lie to you, heading into this game, I was confident. I was confident that we'd get a result. And it's very weird for me to say that because historically this fixture is one of those fixtures I've dreaded. Liverpool over the last decade have been dominant, especially under Klopp, and we've gone through a lot of transitional periods, a lot of ups and downs and a lot of turmoil. A lot of times this fixture was a mismatch. Liverpool were a lot stronger than us at times, and you saw that with some of the famous results like the 7-0 at Anfield and the 5-0 at Old Trafford. But this was the first time in a long time where I looked at this fixture and I said, yeah, we're better than them, we're stronger than them, and we should get a result. And we did exactly just that. And of course, Manchester United, they always do things the hard way, never the easy way. It's always been like that with us. And there were at times where I thought this game could slip away from us. But thankfully, through Kobbie Mainoo, which I will definitely talk about at some point in this video, we managed to get the 3 points. A big 3 points because now we are definitely 100% confirmed Champions League football now. So that was a big win, a big result, and a big statement for the club. So listen, obviously going into the game with the lineups, expected pretty much the same lineup. There was obviously one change, Cunha coming in for Ahmad. Ahmad not being of his greatest form, so there's no kind of surprise there. Of course, Cunha has been on fire since the start of the year, so he had to, be in the starting 11 today. And I looked at Liverpool's lineup. A lot of players missing, of course. The most notable, Salah not there. They got a lot of key players. Carrick was on the bench. They had a lot of key players missing, of course. Isak, Ekatike. I was a bit more confident. I didn't feel like they had enough firepower in their attack, to cause us problems. But Liverpool are Liverpool. At the end of the day, they do still have top quality players that could cause problems. And this fixture, it's never about form. As much as we like to think it is, on the derby day, anything goes. Players and teams can just turn up on the day, and just rise to the occasion. So you can never write off the possibility of, Liverpool causing us problems. But just by looking at the lineups, I felt confident and I felt like we would be, coming out on top. And we started the game bright. I mean, 2 early goals. The first one, of course, Cunha took a bit of a deflection, had a bit of luck in it, but I felt like the intensity and the intention from the get-go, created that goal for us. And then obviously second goal through Sesko, which there was a lot of talk about, whether it was handball or not. For me, I felt like it would have been harsh. I don't think it was fully conclusive that he handballed, he handballed it. It looks like it does touch his fingertips, but I don't think that's enough to disallow the goal. Of course, I am a Manchester United fan. It might come across as a bit biased. Maybe it is a little bit biased, but I just felt like cancelling that goal for that would have been too harsh. The goal was going to go in regardless. If it was a clear touch on the hand, fair enough. But in this case, I felt like it was pretty much the nails at this point. So, I'm glad that they got that decision right. And I felt like at that moment as well, we deserved a 2-0 lead. I felt like we were the better team right at the start of the game. The opening 20 minutes, I felt like we had more control. And then I felt like we coasted. I felt like we took our foot off the gas. But, you don't complain. Going in 2-0 at half-time against Liverpool Football Club, you take that any day. So first half was great. No complaints. 2-0 at half-time, you take that any day. So for me, I was, quite glad. I just felt like at this point, how many could we score? Because for me, that 7-0 is still in my head. I can't lie to you guys. Sometimes that 7-0 still haunts me. I still remember that. Every time this fixture comes up, I always remember that 7-0. So in my mind, I'm thinking, how many goals can we get today? Can we get our revenge? Can we get our lick back? How many can we get? And I generally thought it could be one of those games where, we score 4, 5, 6, depending on how ruthless we are in front of goal. But Manchester United do what Manchester United always do and make things difficult for ourselves. And Ahmad, after coming on, gives away the ball with pretty much his first action of the game. And that's pretty much kind of summed up his time under Carrick, I feel like. Since Carrick's arrived, he's had a real huge dip in form. And I felt like that moment sort of kind of emphasized that. He's a player that's clearly lacking a lot of confidence at the moment. And it shows, it's currently showing with his performances and the way he's performing at the moment, and gives away the ball to Szoboszlai, who then, has to do a lot, to be fair. From the position he gets the ball, drives with the ball at the defenders, takes on defenders on, and it slots it home. So it was a really, really good goal. But of course, it came from a Manchester United error. It came from an Ahmad error. And it was a goal that could have easily have been avoided. So that was disappointing. And then you would think, okay, we made one mistake. Let's just keep control of the game. And then Lamens, very rare from him, very unlike him, gives the ball away and Gakpo scores. So now a game that we was fully in control, a game that we should have dominated, a game where I felt like we could have easily scored 4, 5, 6 on a different day, now looks like it's slipping away from us. And it could have been a game easy where Liverpool nick a result and, you know, take all 3 points. And I was kind of fearful of that. I was extremely fearful that we might give this game away, you know, even potentially lose. But thank God, Kobbie Mainoo. Kobbie Mainoo, remember the name. This boy is the truth. And it's amazing that he scored in the same week that he got his contract extension, because I think it kind of epitomizes, you know, what a special talent he is and why it was the right decision for him to stay at this football club. I mean, it's scary to think that back in January, you know, the club were actually contemplating on selling him. It would have been a travesty, in my opinion. You know, a boy of that talent, homegrown, came through the you know, the club's academy. A special talent who's, you know, represented England at a major tournament, played in the final. You know, this boy, you know, I feel like his ceiling is so high. And honestly, it amazes me how Ruben Amorim couldn't even find a way to fit this guy into his team. You know, when everyone, till this day, we don't have answers. Till this day, the guy just left us, bro, with nothing, no explanation, nothing. And even, I still remember that time in that interview where he laughed when he got asked about Kobbie Mainoo, bringing him off the bench. You know, and so to this day, it still baffles me how you have a talent like that, you have a player like that, and decided that you're not going to use him. It blows my mind. But I want to give Carrick major credit, because I think Carrick has done an amazing job, you know, in making Kobbie Mainoo a main part of this team. You know, he's now a key player to this team, and you can see that he's playing with this new lease of life, new confidence, and you started to see the talent that we've always knew. We always knew this as a fan base. We always knew he had this talent. We've seen it on multiple occasions. We saw it in a cup final. We've seen it for England. We've seen it for Manchester United. You know, since he's arrived at the club, the special goals he scored. Even in the same fixture, he scored a special goal against Liverpool, a special goal against Wolves. You know, so we're not surprised at his talent. We're not surprised at the performances he's been producing as of late. And this is a boy that's going to go right to the very top, man. As long as he's nurtured, as long as he's looked after, and as long as he's treated right, this is a player, you know, that will go on to do amazing things in his career. You know, so I'm glad that it's kind of worked out for him. But I do feel like Carrick deserves a lot of credit for that. And on the topic of Carrick, guys, I think we need to start having a serious conversation now, because it's getting serious now. Do we keep Michael Carrick as the permanent manager of Manchester United? This is a question that's obviously been asked over the last couple of months, and I think it's getting to the point now where it's starting to feel inevitable. Like, it's starting to feel like we have to. Like, it would be disrespectful if we didn't give him the job at this point, because of the job that he's done. Look, this guy's beating Liverpool now. He's beating Man City. He's beating Arsenal. He's beating Villa. He's beat Chelsea away as well. He's got huge results. And in terms of points, he's got the most points out of any manager since he's arrived. You know, Champions League looked like a far-fetched thing for us. Now we've secured it with still 3 games to go. So you can see the morale of the team is boosted. You can see that the players believe in him. And you can see that he's changed the entire feel at the football club. So the question is, do we keep it safe? Do we stick with Carrick at least for the short term, you know, and keep the stability that we've created so far going into next season? Or do we risk it like we've risked it on multiple occasions with different managers with CVs, and see if that will work for us when we already have something that's clearly working? I mean, right now under Carrick, it's working. Yes, there's always going to be criticism. There's always room for criticism, right? The in-game management at times, you know. Sometimes it feels like, you know, maybe he's riding the luck of the fact that, you know, we don't have that many games to play, and we've got, you know, 1 game a week, and we have long breaks, and he has a lot more work and time on the training ground. And these are all valid points, right? But we can't ignore the results. We can't ignore the improvements that has been made. And we can't ignore the mood and the morale, not just on the pitch, but also across the club with the fans. You know, there's a different feel right now under Carrick. And, you know, it'll be a shame if we let him go and he goes to another club. We get a new manager in that could potentially be a better manager in terms of CV, in terms of pedigree, in terms of what they've achieved. But then we've seen it with the likes of Mourinho. We've seen it with Van Gaal. We've seen it with Ten Hag. We've seen it with Amorim. We've seen it. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes the grass isn't always greener. You know, we think there's something better out there for us when what we have at right now currently is good enough. So I feel like he deserves it, in my opinion now. And I think I'm on the board of him staying now, because I do think, like, you know, he deserves an opportunity. He at least deserves a chance. He's done enough work to warrant that. So I would definitely keep Carrick now. I think I'm on that board, because I think he deserves it. What I wouldn't do though is maybe tie him down to a long-term deal. you know, because then if things do go wrong, then at least, you know, you can part ways a lot easier. So maybe a 1 year deal, maybe a 1+1, maybe a 2 year deal max. But yeah, I definitely feel like he deserves it, man. The work he's done and the things he's managed to achieve in the short time that he's been here deserves that. It warrants that. And I do feel like this summer, if we get the right transfer window, if we get the right players in, you know, and have a similar successful transfer window like we did last summer, I do feel like this club is now in position to compete. I'm not saying we're gonna win the league. I'm not saying we're gonna win, you know, Champions League and all of that. But I feel like, given, you know, the state of football now, I don't feel like there's standout teams. Even in Europe, apart from maybe PSG and Bayern, you can argue, I don't feel like there are standout teams. And I feel like it's quite open in the Champions League as it is open in the Premier League. And I feel like there's an opportunity there for us now to compete. I mean, Liverpool right now are currently unstable. They're going through a transitional period. You got Chelsea who are currently still unstable. Arsenal, I feel like, you know, they are. I mean, they are one of the best teams, but I don't feel like they are far ahead of, you know, the current crop. And I feel like Man City, if Pep goes, again, that's another transitional period as well. So I think it's open. I think there's an opportunity there. If we get the right summer, if we get the right players in the summer, then yes, we definitely can do big things next season. Now, in terms of Liverpool, 'cause I do feel like we need to discuss Liverpool as well, man. It's weird. It's been such a weird season for them because last summer they had a record-breaking transfer window, 2 record-breaking signings. Verts, Isak, and a lot of people, including myself, I'm gonna put myself in this, thought that they were gonna go on to win the league comfortably as well, and it hasn't turned out that way. You know, right now they're currently sitting in 4th. You know, they might slip into 5th, and the mood at the club right now, it just feels like they're mentally broken. You know, I feel like the trust in the manager is gone. It looks inevitable that the manager will probably leave come end of the season. They got Salah leaving. They got Robertson leaving. 2 big key figures with experience and have been so key and integral in terms of the success that they've had over the last, you know, decade or whatnot. Yeah, it's a shame, man. It's a shame where they're at, because I think they should have been in a much better place this season on all fronts. And the fact that they're going to finish possibly in the top 5 and, you know, have no trophies this season is, I think it's a little bit embarrassing. I'll say a little bit embarrassing. And obviously the manager has to take accountability, but the players do also have to take accountability. And speaking on the likes of Mo Salah and Robertson, I mean, we saw what kind of impact Trent had leaving Liverpool, right? He was such a key figure, and I think at times people sort of took that for granted. And you see it this season, you know, the output that he provides, the creativity that he provides on that right-hand side. And now Robertson leaving, you know, who also provided the same sort of presence on the left-hand side, is also leaving now. And these are all-timers for that club. They are all-timers, not just for Liverpool Football Club, but also in the Premier League, you know. In terms of as a fullback pairing, Trent and Robertson, these guys are all-timers. You know, arguably one of the best fullback pairings ever in Premier League history. So, you know, replacing them is going to be a difficult task. And then, of course, having to replace Mo Salah, who for me is one of the greatest Premier League players of all time. You know, the guy's goals contributions, ridiculous. I think he leads in terms of goal contributions in Premier League history. You know, how do you replace that? You know, that is going to be a big miss. And you see right now with the likes of Isak struggling, Ekitike is, for me, a top talent. But would he be able to fill that void? I don't think so. So now in this market, this summer, they have to address that. They have to replace the likes of Robertson. They have to replace the likes of Salah. And I don't think Salah's a player that you can't really replace. How do you replace that amount of goals consistently year after year, hitting 20 goals, at least minimum 20 plus, you know, with the assists on top, you know, big game moments, big game player. How do you replace that? And I feel like it reminds me of when Man United lost Cristiano Ronaldo. You know, it took us years to find a replacement for Ronaldo. You know, we tried so many different players, and it took us to bring back Ronaldo to actually replace Ronaldo. So it's not a easy task, you know. Even replacing Mane hasn't been easy for them. So imagine trying to replace Salah. It's gonna be a tough task, and I do feel like next season is a big season for Liverpool, because it's make or break. And I feel like they need to really get it right this summer with the appointment, with the summer window. They have to get it right, and if they don't, then they could find themselves trailing even more. You know, they could go back to the times of, you know, of the Poulsens and of the Lavers and of the Voronins and Ngogs, and they could easily find themselves in that place again, you know, where they're not performing in the league, they're not performing in Europe, they're missing out on Europe if they don't address it right now. you know, because right now they can still address this. They still have a lot of top quality players in the team, but they do have to get the right pieces and the right manager as well. But yeah, but let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on the game. Let me know who was your man of the match. For me, it was Kobbie by a mile. This was the Kobbie game for me. Game just came too easy for him. Just gliding, you know, off the ball, on the ball, you know, defensively, offensively, you know, just playing at easy. It's almost like he's playing at easy mode, you know. But that's what happens when you have a player of confidence, with that ability. So yeah, but let me know your thoughts on the game. Let me know your thoughts on who your man of the match was. And until next time, peace.